What's up, you savages? Today's video is going to be a little bit different. We're going to be talking about how to actually make your at-home workouts truly effective, plus a full lower body at-home workout with minimal equipment. All right, so we're going to dive right into everything, not waste any time. I'm going to go ahead and grab this, flip this around. Definitely doing this just to have a really cool transition. So let's go. Talk about progress is actually defining what type of progress you're going to be expected to make during this time under quarantine. First thing we want to define is what you're going to be accepting as progress during this time. What I mean by that is, first off, we're going to talk about gaining muscle, okay? If that's your main goal, if you're someone who's trying to build muscle mass, lean muscle mass, and strength during this time, you have two options. One is you're going to be expected and trying to actually build muscle mass. Two is you're going to be expected and accepting maintenance, okay? So this goes hand in hand with your experience level. So if you're someone who's a beginner, and I'm gonna say someone who's between 0 and 2 years of being an avid gym goer, someone who's exercising frequently during the week and actually lifting weights, then you're gonna be expected to probably make some gains. You'll probably be able to make some lean muscle mass gains. Not a ton, not like 20 pounds of muscle mass during this time, although we don't know how long this baby's gonna last, so who knows. But anyways, during this time, you're not going to be expecting to make extreme gains, but you'll probably be able to make something. If you're between 0 and 2-ish years of being an avid gym goer, you can probably expect some actual lean muscle mass gains. Now, if you're someone who's an intermediate to an advanced gym goer, lifter, whatever you want to say, someone between 2 and 5+ years of experience, you're probably going to be expecting just maintenance, all right? And that's okay. That's fantastic. If you can just maintain physique during this time and maintain your muscle mass and progress during this time of not having a gym, that's freaking awesome, especially with limited equipment. Okay, so first you have to be able to define, this is number one, be able to define and accept whatever type of progress you're going to be making. For myself personally, I don't expect to be putting on pounds and pounds of muscle mass during this time. I know that it's just not realistic for me, it's not in the cards, especially with my limited equipment. Okay, when we're talking about actually putting on muscle mass and strength and all that stuff, one of the main factors that applies is progressive overload. Progressively overloading your training. If you've ever heard the story of the guy who, man, woman, whatever, they use a guy as an example. The person has a baby cow and they bring it up a hill every day at the top to feed it, okay? And then they carry it back down or to get water, whatever it is. Progressively, as that baby cow gets older and older, the cow grows. Okay, and the person still carries it up the hill. So as that baby cow grows, the person carrying it gets stronger and stronger and stronger, all right, going up this hill, progressively overloading. That cow is getting bigger and bigger. That's essentially progressive overload. Now, since we're stuck at home, and for most people, they don't have a full gym in their house, for most people, they have limited equipment, we can't really change the size of that cow very much. Okay? But there are other things we can change about that training pattern to essentially simulate progressive overload while we're at home. And that's kind of what we're going to get into today and different variables to affect that change. So first off, define what level of progress you are accepting that you're going to be making during this time. All right, so we're gonna dive into how to make home workouts really effective. All right, so first off, we're gonna talk about the variables that you can normally change when you're at a gym. We got weights, equipment, angles, speed, volume, time under tension, tempo, and rest. So now we're going to discuss the variables to change at home. Time under tension, tempo, speed, rest, minimal angles, minimal weights, and volume. All right, so the three most important ones to focus on are time under tension, rest, and volume, especially at home. One of the most important factors when it comes to having a truly effective home workout program is something called time under tension, or TUT, which is essentially how long your muscles are placed under a stress or aka tension to create a muscle stimulus. Muscle stimulus is what's needed to actually make changes in your muscles. One tactic at home to ensure you're getting enough time under tension is taking some exercises to failure. Now at home, your exercises and the load you're using may not be sufficient enough for an 8, 10, 12, whatever rep range you want to get enough time under tension. So taking your exercises to failure, which is when you just can't do anymore, is one surefire way of getting enough time under tension. So when you see people working out at the gym and they're just going super, super fast with their exercise, a lot of the times the time under tension is very little compared to someone who is going really slow with their movements, and having a lot more stress and tension under those muscles. That person is getting much more time under tension, which is going to stimulate more muscle growth. So instead of going super fast through your exercises, you can adjust your tempo, which will give you more of that TUT, more of that time under tension. So adjusting your tempo, first you have to understand the concentric and eccentric parts of a movement to really understand how to adjust your tempo. So first off, the concentric part of a movement is when you're shortening or lifting, okay? So shortening the muscle and you're lifting the weight. So in terms of like a bicep curl, that would be when you're bringing that weight up. You're shortening your muscle and you're lifting the weight. The eccentric part is when you're lengthening the muscle and lowering the weight down. So in the bicep curl, it's when you're bringing the weight back down, okay? You're lengthening your muscle, you're lowering the weight. Pretty simple. So a pretty standard gym tempo that we see a lot in the gym is something along the lines of like a 2-0-2. So 2, that first number, being the eccentric part of the movement. Okay, you're lowering that weight down at a 1-2 count. That next number, the 0, is the pause at the bottom. So in terms of bicep curl, it would go 2 seconds on the way down, 1, 2, 0, no pause at the bottom. And then that last number 2 is being the concentric when you bring it back up. So it's a pretty fast tempo that we see a lot of the times, 2-0-2. So instead, to increase your time under tension, try something like this. This is a more extended tempo. 5 seconds on the eccentric down, really, really slow. A 3-second pause at the bottom, and a 3-second concentric. So that's gonna make your set a lot longer, and it's gonna increase your time under tension. So the next variable that we can change at home is our rest, which is basically the time for our muscles to recover in between our sets and rounds. A pretty typical amount of rest time is somewhere between 45 and 90 seconds in between sets. At home, if you want to increase your intensity really quickly of all of your workouts, you can simply try to limit the amount of rest time that you have. You can try 30 to 45 seconds, or if you want to go crazy, you can do no rest at all. The third thing we can adjust from home is our volume, which is basically how many days, sets, and reps that we're doing for our workouts in a week. Usually more volume would mean more muscle stimulus and more time under tension if training was done right. If your time under tension, your tempo is correct, if your rest periods are correct, if your form is right. But more doesn't always mean better, especially with the given circumstances. Pretty typical amount of volume that we see someone at the gym do is somewhere around 3 days of working out, 3 sets, and 8 to 12 reps per exercise, which is okay for most people, but it will only get you so far. At home, this is going to have to change a little bit if you want to keep up some type of progression. Instead, you can try something like 4 to 5 days of working out, 3 to 5 sets per exercise, and somewhere between 8 and 50 repetitions, or somewhere to get you close to training failure and enough time under tension. Now, normally I wouldn't suggest going to that high of rep range, but since the weight can't really be altered at home as much, increasing repetitions is totally fine for this situation. So obviously it's not that the other factors aren't important, like the weights, the speed, the angles, and the equipment and all of that stuff. It's just that at home, those aren't really factors that we have much control over for the average person, for the everyday person that doesn't have a entire home gym, right? We don't have a lot of weights that we can adjust. We don't have a lot of machines to adjust angles of. We don't have a lot of reason to adjust speed, for example, because at home we're not gonna be making a lot of personal records or increasing our strength by a ton, which is where speed comes into play. So it's not that the other factors aren't necessarily important. If you have them, if you have a lot of weights to play with, that's awesome. You have another variable to change to increase your intensity. Intensity is what brackets all of that together, right? Intensity isn't just like, it's more so adjusting all these variables accordingly. So if you have weights, if you have equipment that you can adjust, that's freaking awesome and I'm jealous of you. But for the average person, we don't have all of that stuff. So it's more important to focus on those key things that we just covered to maximize your progress at home. Now, I know a lot of this stuff may not even matter to you. You may not care about changing your weights or all that stuff. You may not even care about making progress. You just want to work out a little bit. And guess what? That's fantastic, all right? That's much better than not doing anything at all. But if you are someone who avidly goes to the gym, you have goals to hit, and you want to make some sort of progress and make some sort of change during this time, these are the things that you're going to need to focus on. Just talking about working out right now, not talking about nutrition, but in terms of working out, these are the things that you're going to need to focus on in order to maximize your time and your energy at home during this apocalypse. All right, on that note, we're going to go through a home workout using just a pair of dumbbells and a few resistance bands and show you how to integrate all of those variables to make a really effective home workout. We're doing legs today. I just finished warming up with my resistance band, my slingshot to warm up the glutes. I did some air squats, some jumping jacks, some leg swings, and all that jazz. Boring stuff. Let's get to the workout now. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. That's all from me. I hope you learned something that you can apply and make use of during this crazy time in the world. All right, I'll see you guys in the next episode.